This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of Doc and Jock is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming soon. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Buy new places to watch games, save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be. From 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown, to a free round of drinks if a quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will update when your team or player records a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deal are met, the coupons are sent to your device to show your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play soon. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io and follow them on Twitter and Instagram at ScoreDeals. Score, watch games, score deals.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
One word to describe my weekend, cuz. Glorious, baby. There was nobody on earth that had a better weekend than myself. And I know that you're highly upset sitting here for this Doc and Jock recording. But here, as you know, I am a Doc, and I will sit here and listen to your complaints being a Michigan supporter. But before all that, I want to take the moment to say, what an enjoyable experience watching Michigan State. And the first half, I mean, people can complain regarding Michigan and their lack of execution and the choices that were made, but at least in the first half, you got to give Michigan State a ton of credit because they were able to walk into the big house and take the rivalry super serious, and they came out and basically punched Michigan in the mouth. You saw a situation where one team was able to come out and put forth their solid effort, and the other team looked like they just wanted to show up with their maize and blue uniform and try and perform, and it didn't work out. And so the epic Michigan State win on Saturday really was one for me where I was gripping, because in the second half, Michigan State on offense basically shut it down, and the weather made it almost impossible to do anything. Michigan actually scored a touchdown. Give them credit. They scored a touchdown in the monsoon, but a lot of mistakes were made by Michigan. But before the game, you had situations where, the Michigan fan base was chirping and talking, and national media came out and gave their opinions and weighed in on the rivalry. But
You mean Desmond Howard? Just call him out. Just call him out. Desmond Howard's a fraud. Shut up, Desmond Howard.
Exactly.
Shut up.
But what I saw after the game was far more impressive to me in terms of what we finally needed to happen. As State supporters, we have to sit here and listen to, the Michigan media and look at the coverage of Michigan where everything that Jim Harbaugh did for the better part of 2.5 years was glorified. Everything that he did, in terms of recruiting, in terms of his tactics, in terms of trips that were made. And then finally on Saturday, after the game was over, basically, literally, I would say 5 seconds after that game ended, the dust settled and the rain dried, per se, people started to realize, Jim Harbaugh maybe is not the guy that we may need here to do the job. And Steve Deese, unbelievable podcast that aired on Tuesday on our network, he came out and he laid out 5 to 6 coaches that in year 3 got their team to the national championship. And I was just dumbfounded and floored because of the fact that, finally, at this point in time, as we record episode 218, the petals are off the rose on Jim Harbaugh. He got critiqued nationally. He's getting critiqued locally. And some of the fan base now has started to fight each other on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast regarding whether they should just blow up the season, just let Peters or somebody else run the offense. And so chaos has ensued among Michigan Nation. And I'm sitting here going, yes, finally, it's about damn time that you guys, not you per se, but Michigan fans really take a serious look at what's going on over there at the guy who's making $9 million and what the trajectory is, because you got the rest of the season coming up, and it really puts a lot of pressure on Michigan versus Ohio State coming up, this season, and then next year going on the road to take on a lot of your rivals. And so sitting here, Jim Harbaugh is 1-4 versus his rivals. Everybody is now putting Jim Harbaugh in the crosshairs, as he should be. And sitting here about to record this podcast, whatever you're going to say, whether you're angry, frustrated, or dumbfounded at what happened on Saturday, it was just a fabulous experience from my perspective. But there is one complaint I will have, and that I'm probably a victim of it too, as we've said in previous years previewing the game. I had asked for a score count on Twitter. I kind of talked to Spartan supporters and things like that. A lot of Spartan supporters were like turtles, in that for the last, maybe 365 days, the turtle was in their shell, okay? But by and large, when that game ended, damn, that turtle flew out and everybody was donning their state gear. Everybody was puffing their chest out. Everybody was making their comments. So I would say, myself included, we do definitely need to have more confidence in Mark D'Antonio. The program is in decent hands. And all we got to say is, for the length of this podcast, as much as we've done it, for the last 10 years, Michigan State has dominated the rivalry, 8 wins out of 10. It's unprecedented. It's unheard of. For Michigan State fans, we just now got to basically say to ourselves, look, win or lose, Michigan State under Mark D'Antonio is at least going to be in the mix, in the conversation, in terms of competing versus Michigan, and that hasn't been said in a long time. And hell, I was out there, blasting away, calling Jim Harbaugh overrated, poking the bear, trying my absolute best to rile it up, but Michigan State...
Thanks for not tagging me in any of those.
I did not. I respected...
I appreciated that.
But at the very least...
I don't think I didn't realize.
Yes.
I recognized, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
He was solid today.
Yes.
We had our own conversations going through text message.
Yes, but sitting here today, I'm a happy and proud Michigan State supporter. The future looks pretty good this year and in coming years. Yes, every program takes hits in terms of off-the-field stuff, and you got to sometimes reset. But people were questioning, could Michigan State reset after a 3-win season? And by and large, when you look at the quarterback situation, when you look at the effort that was put out during a rivalry game, Michigan State did an amazing job. For all the supporters that were cheering them on, they delivered, and they basically were the toxin that's now invaded the Michigan program. And it's so fucking awesome to be part of it and to see what Michigan State did to Michigan. Now, you have the floor. You tell me how you want to take this. I want to know, are you furious? Are you disappointed? Are you ready to blow this up? Has your perception of the Michigan program changed? But before all that, I want to know, set the scene on your end. I was fucking nervous because at the end of the game, Michigan State, like always, does stupid-ass shit to try and ruin the game, taking a penalty when all you had to do was take a knee. So I was like on my knees with my hands crossed like this going, please. I was texting Jarvie like, come on, we cannot blow the game. I don't want to see a Hail Mary or a messed up situation. State did a whole hell of a lot to try and ruin the game at the end. What was it like at a pro-Michigan house? Because I know that first half must have pissed everybody off to the highest of heavens, seeing what an embarrassing first half that was for the Michigan program. Set the scene. What was it like on your side of things?
It was frustrating, and I think that's where I want to start. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I'm hurt. I feel like I was sold a bill of goods. Sitting there watching the game, and it was a pro-Michigan table that we sat at, right? Because I went to a bar, and I took it in at a bar with a bunch of my buddies. We did have one Spartan there, and that was Sparty Bob. Not the Sparty Bob, but my buddy Bob. He's a huge Spartan fan. So it was enjoyable to watch the game with him because, unlike you, he doesn't troll me. He just lets me, very factual. Like, middle of the game, I think it was third quarter, he was like, this might be the final score of the game, and it was 14-10. And I was like, you might be right. And we just kind of went back and forth having different discussions. But I'm so angry, and I'm so bitter, and I'm furious about so much of this game. This was a game that Michigan should have won. This was not a game that should even been this close, okay? And that being said, look, Michigan State's got a great product. Michigan State's got a hell of a football coach. Your offensive coordinator's a freaking boob. But you know what? Your head coach has the balls. Something my head coach doesn't have, has the balls to sit there and override his offensive coordinator if he feels the need to, right? I didn't understand the play calling down the stretch there where Michigan State got the lead and they were up by 4 points. I was like, why do they just keep running the ball? I get it. It's taking 2 minutes off the clock, 3 minutes off the clock at a clip, but you keep having to kick the ball back off to Michigan. And if Michigan had any idea what the hell they were doing on offense, they had an offensive coordinator who was worth a damn, or a passing coordinator who was worth a damn, or if they had a head coach who could get his own head out of his own ass, he'd have figured it out. But you know what? We don't have that. Jim Harbaugh's too busy climbing up trees, handing shoes to the Pope, sitting there making plans for where his next satellite camp's going to be. Oh, let me go get another 5-star recruit. You know what? Your 5-star recruits don't do shit. Do you see what your offensive line is? Your offensive line is garbage. Absolute garbage. So don't come here and tell me about 5-star recruits. I don't give a damn. I see what Mark D'Antonio does with 2- and 3-star kids. And you know what they do? They go to the freaking league, and they become a Kirk Cousins. They become a Le'Veon Bell. And you know what those guys do? They win friggin' football games. So don't come here and don't tell me about a 5-star recruit. I could give 2 craps about that. I need a head coach who has his head screwed on straight, who knows what the hell he's doing in the middle of a close game. When all of a sudden, once the game gets close, it's like Jim Harbaugh forgets how to coach. I don't know if his butthole gets too tight and he can't sit there and breathe, because honestly, he breathes through his ass. I mean, that's where I'm at with this program right now. All right, you have a hell of a defense. Your secondary made a ton of big plays. I had huge question marks going into this game about your secondary. They made huge stop after huge stop after huge stop. Michigan State ran all over your front 7, which made no sense to me because this front 7 was almost impenetrable. So apparently Michigan State seen something on the film that you and all of your expensive coordinators didn't see. Okay? So now you've got Michigan State just sitting there running a train on you. Just wait for Saquon Barkley to come in here. That guy's going to rack up 300 yards real quick when you take on Penn State. So chalk that up as an L2. So now you go to your offense. You've got a offensive coordinator who makes over $1 million. You got a passing coordinator. What the hell's a passing coordinator do? Does he show you how to throw a football? Are you serious? You know how to do this when you're in 5th grade. So you have a passing coordinator who costs you $1 million as well. Get the hell out of here. And you guys can't figure out how to throw a football? Now, on top of all of that, this monsoon that you played in, this was predicted. This was forecasted, if you will. And yeah, I know, I get it. The weatherman, they're usually wrong about 75% of the time. But you could see this massive wave of rain that was coming in. You knew it was going to rain. And you know that the way this game is won is on the ground. The team that outrushes the other team always wins this game. Always. You've got 3 running backs who are worth a damn. Ty Isaac's pretty good. Perry's okay. And you got guys on this team who can sit there and run the ball. And yet you want to throw in a monsoon? You want to throw in a monsoon. Now look, John O'Korn is no great quarterback. He is no great shakes of a quarterback. I get it, all right? But he's a guy who can sit there and usually manage you a game. You're going to sit there and you're going to put that kid in that spot where you're going to force him to throw in a tidal wave? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Let's think about this. You know it's going to rain. You know it's going to be awful. You've got wide receivers who can't run the right damn route. You can't run the right route. It's a slant, you idiot. You've been doing it since high school. Run the right route. So you put this kid in this spot with these receivers who are super inexperienced in an offensive line that is a goddamn turnstile. So he's got pressure coming everywhere right now. Everywhere. And you want him to do something about this. What the hell do you want him to do? So yeah, he throws up some lame ducks and yeah, they get picked off. Yeah, you turn the ball over 5 times. You know who that's on? That's not on John O'Korn. That's on Jim Harbaugh. That's on Harbaugh. That's on that coaching staff. That's on that offensive coordinator and his stupid little butt boy passing coordinator. You're idiots. You run the ball. Run the ball to win the game. If you're going to pass the ball, do something out in the flats where your running back can get out there quickly and you can get the ball out. 3-step drop and go. 3-step drop and go. I've been screaming this for 5 weeks now. 5 damn weeks. Your offensive line is brutal. You are putting too much on these kids who don't understand what the hell is going on. You want them to sit there and you want them to make intricate stunts. They don't know what the hell they're doing yet. Whether they're too young or they're too stupid, I don't know. You're the head coach. You figure it out. That's why you get paid $9 million a freaking season. I'm just the guy who's doing a podcast and I can see this shit. The hell are you doing? Let your running backs get out there. Safe plays. It's a monsoon, man. It's a tidal wave out there. I had to go check on my wife, who was not feeling good, but she's a trooper. She's a freaking trooper, right? And she's a Michigan alum. She sat there. She's like, look, I don't feel good. I'm going to go lay down in the car. Because she didn't want to sit there and ruin the party. She went and she laid down in the car. I had to go out there and check on her in the middle of this storm because I hadn't heard from her in about an hour. She ended up passing out for 3, but she's an all-star, right? She sat there, she sucked it up for me so I could sit there and watch this game and try to enjoy myself. I come back and I'm covered. I'm soaked head to toe. My socks are wet. So I can only imagine what's going on in Ann Arbor, 45 minutes away from where I was at. And you mean to tell me you don't know how to run the ball in the rain? And I don't want to hear any excuses from Michigan fans. If you're making excuses, you're talking all this smack about Michigan State, you know what? You got your shit pushed in 8 years out of 10. They've got your card. They've got your number. Desmond Howard, shut the hell up. Nobody needs to hear you. Shut up. This is a rivalry. You know why I know it's a rivalry? Because I don't want to look at my phone when my cousin sends me a text message. That's how I know it's a rivalry. Run the right route. Okay? And I'm not up here burned up for no damn reason. I'm burned up because of the damn rivalry. And you lost again. And you lost at home. And you shouldn't have lost. And this season could have set up to be perfect for you. But you know what? It's year 3. And Jim Harbaugh, the QB whisperer, has no quarterback. Run the right route. Wilton Spate's dead. He suffered what Tony Romo has. He's done. Okay? So John O'Corn comes in. What the hell is John O'Corn? Nobody really knows. Nobody has any idea what John O'Corn is. Okay? He wasn't good enough to sit there and start in Houston. That's why he came here. He's not good enough to start here. He's your backup. What's going on with Brandon Peters? I heard all this high praise about Brandon Peters. He can't seem to find the field. What's going on here? All right? You've got these high talented, awesome wide receivers, right? 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. Guys can get down the field and burn you. Yeah, but you can't run the right route? Run the right route! I mean, what did you run in high school? Were they all go routes? Did you just sit there and burn every defensive back that you played and you just ran deep? That's not how it works. Which brings me to this point. Right here, right now. Your season's over. If you're a Michigan fan, check out. Check out. Your season is done right now. There's nothing left for you. You got nothing going on. You're going to sit there and you're going to take on Penn State in 2 weeks. Don't be surprised if that game's not something like 42 to freaking 7. Okay? And look, Saquon Barkley, if your defense shows up like it showed up against Michigan State, over. Saquon Barkley will run for 300 yards. It'll be lights out. It'll be over in the first quarter. Done. Okay? You'll get a win against Rutgers. Good job. You might lose to Indiana this week. I don't know anymore. I have no idea where your confidence is, Michigan. I have no clue. Minnesota with PJ Fleck, that's going to be an interesting game. Let's see how that turns out. That's a coin flip right now. Look, good thing Maryland's got a third string quarterback going on. And then you know what? You're going to sit there and you have 2 big games left. 2 big games. And you're going to play at Wisconsin. Guess what? Jail sexing. I've watched Wisconsin play. They're a good program. They're going to kick your ass. And Ohio State, don't even get me started because Uncle Urban owns you. Owns you. That's like going to the tax man and you haven't paid your taxes in 10 years. He's going to smack that ass. He owns you. Just like Mark D'Antonio owns you. There's a coach with some balls. There's a coach who knows what the hell he's doing. He knew it was a monsoon. And you know what he did? He said, look, we're just going to run the ball. Going to run the ball. Lewerke, don't worry about it. We're going to run the ball. Your season is now over, Michigan. Over.
So with that said, do you go to Peters? Do you just say, look, the O'Corn experiment's over. He's a guy that's a senior. He's going to be gone next year. Michigan, should they take the trajectory of, and similar to what Steve is saying, is like, look, you know, the goal is potentially to win a national college football playoff game and to get to the Final Four. So are you willing?
Away.
Are you willing to take a step back?
Yep.
To go
right
2
now,
steps forward?
Because John O'Corn's not the answer. He's gone next year. John O'Corn is not here next year, right? He's done. So yes, at this moment in time, I say, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We have a hell of a defense. And sorry, boys. Sorry, you guys go out there and you play your ass off every single week. But this is what we got to do for the betterment of the program. This is now year 3. Year 3. You know who won the Big Ten championship in year 3? Mark D'Antonio did. You know who sat there and won a national championship in 2 years? Urban Meyer did. You know what James Franklin did last year in year 3? Won the Big Ten. Where are we? We don't have a quarterback. We don't have an offensive line. Yeah, cool. You built up the defense. Good job. The defense was pretty solid when you took over, if I recall correctly. It was pretty decent. You did a good job coaching up those guys. Now it's year 3. Where are your players at? You did good things with Brady Hoke's guys. Where are your players at? Yeah, play Brandon Peters. Put him out there. Let's see what he can do.
Do you want to hear the most ridiculous narrative that I heard coming out of that game? The narrative was, after people started hearing,
run the right route!
People complaining about Jim Harbaugh, the narrative was, whoa, guys, if you continue to bark up that tree of complaining and criticizing Jim Harbaugh, he may take his ball and go home.
Go!
Yeah,
go!
I was dying.
Go!
I'm like, this is the first time he's faced any criticism. If the national media is going to come with that.
Jesus Christ, man, for real. He sits there and everybody waxes poetic about him when he's doing ridiculous stunts in the offseason. Everybody waxes poetic about him, and nobody in the media in Detroit even bothers asking him a critical question. Nobody. They're all softball questions to this guy. What kind of spell does he have on you? As Michigan, there's a ton of Michigan alums in the Detroit media too. As a Michigan alum, you should be furious and you should be pissed off. You really should. And look, I understand that you've got to sit there and you got to put some of your bias aside, but you're a sports writer. You still have some of your fandom. Believe me, I tried killing a lot of mine off when I was a journalism student because I was told you can't have it. So I tried to take it all and I tried to bury it. And you know what? It sucked. It made watching sports really hard for me because I couldn't enjoy myself. Because I sat there and I was like, no, you got to be even. You got to be right down the middle. Don't sit there. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Stay even keeled. You got to watch this. All right. But you're a Michigan alum. I'm not even a Michigan alum. I'm not. I went to some other school. I got accepted to Michigan. I didn't go because I got scholarships to go to another university that I ended up having to drop out of because I was an idiot and I was drinking too much and partying way too much. I ended up going someplace else, though, got my degree, waxed that shit out in 3 years, crushed it. Get the hell out of here. If you're a Michigan alum, you need to hold him. You hold him accountable. That's it. Ask him questions. Why the hell are you throwing the ball in a monsoon? Why? Why are you putting this quarterback who obviously isn't that good to beat out Wilton Spate, who obviously wasn't very good the first couple games of the year? Why are you going to put him in a spot where he's got to throw the ball when he's getting smacked in the face? Imagine getting smacked in the face over and over with rain. You can't even see. Why are you going to sit there and why are you going to put him in that spot? Why? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't get it. The media in the Detroit area needs to hold him accountable. Ask him some damn questions. Say, dude, what are you doing? What's going on with your offensive line? Nobody asks the critical question. That offensive line has been brutal this year. Absolutely brutal. You're getting your quarterbacks and your running backs killed out there. So I don't know if you got to put another tight end to sit there and chip. I don't know if you got to put a running back in there to sit there and throw a block. You need to figure something out because those guys are just getting bowled over right now. And look, Michigan State's a good team. They're a young team, though. You guys went into Ann Arbor with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, and you waxed Michigan's ass. Waxed them. What's that say for next year? Next year, Jim, I don't know if you've checked the schedule or not because I have. You've got to travel to the Horseshoe, so I don't know what you're going to do there. You got to travel to East Lansing. I don't know what you're going to do there. And I'm pretty sure you got to travel to Notre Dame, too. I have no idea what you're going to do there. Because if you sit there and you play that game where you look at the schedule and you're like, well, Notre Dame beat Michigan State. Michigan State beat Notre Dame. Or Notre Dame beat Michigan State. I guess that means Notre Dame can beat you, too. And I know it doesn't necessarily work that way because you got to play it on the field. But that looks like that's going to be a pretty tough game. Not sure if you're aware. Not really sure if you're aware. And this season is done. You need to sit there and you need to look towards the future. Start the rebuild now. Implode it. Because you're not going to win the Big Ten now. Big Ten's a pipe dream. Because I don't see anybody stopping Ohio State, and I don't see anybody stopping Penn State here. All right? I really don't. I mean, look, Urban Meyer's got things figured out with J.T. Barrett. He's going to let him run the offense the way that J.T. Barrett needs to run the offense. Otherwise, he's a pathetic quarterback. So he's going to let him do what he's got to do because you know why? Urban Meyer's a good coach. He's a good coach. He realizes that, hey, the way we were doing things wasn't working. So let's change it. And I know that this is going to maybe slow some processes down that we have in the grand scheme of things. But you know what? We're probably going to get into the national playoff here. And once you get in, that's all you got to do. You got a chance to win. And the way J.T. Barrett's playing right now, he's balling out. And Penn State, good luck stopping that running back. And hey, you know what? They got a quarterback too. They can throw the ball. And if I recall correctly, last year when you played them, they were basically deathly ill. It was like, I don't know, the Black Plague came into Penn Station there and took all these kids out. They were missing half their starting lineup. and you were able to beat them. So they've got a much better team now. Your team's in question and in flux, so hey, good luck with that, Jimbo. Good luck.
Okay, so where does Michigan go from here? Where do you think the trajectory needs to be for the rest of this season and going forward into looking at the end of year 3 going into year 4? What has to happen to change this around?
You need to, right now, because this season's over. I already told you, season's over. All right, you're 4th in the Big Ten currently. You've got a loss to Michigan State, so good luck there. I don't see you beating Penn State. I don't see you beating Ohio State, and I don't think you're going to beat Wisconsin either. Season's over. Start Brandon Peters. Figure something out for your offensive line because they are abysmal. They are absolutely abysmal. I think you could go to De La Salle and get some of those high school kids and plug them in with whatever offense they run over there, and you could get some better production than what you're getting from your offensive line. Your offensive line is atrocious. So dumb it down, make it easy. Say, hey, look, when we run, you sit there, you push guys to the side. When we block, you sit there, you keep the guy in front of you. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. And you know what? If they're not good enough, find somebody else. I don't care how you do it. That's what you got to do. Fix the offensive line, put the young quarterback in, and let's go. And you got to sit there, you got to build towards next year. That's where we're at. That's what it is. All right? You've got nothing else going on this year. Absolutely nothing. You're not winning a Big Ten. You're not going to be competitive for the national championship. So your season is now done 5 weeks in. And you know what? I want to say thank you, Michigan, for that. Thank you very much. Because now I don't got to game plan my Saturdays around watching your pathetic ass. Because I would sit there and I would try to work my entire schedule with my wife. My wife wants to go do something. Look, babe, I got to watch the Michigan game. I got to check this out. I got to keep up on it. I got to know what's going on so I can talk about it. You know what? I don't got to do that no more because your season's over. So thank you for giving my Saturdays back. Wasted 5 of them, though.
I want to get your take on this because I thought it added a layer of excitement, but it could have ruined a situation where Michigan State could have kicked Michigan's ass even further. The rain came in the second half, and the game was 14-3, I believe, at that point. Michigan State had been dominating, and they looked pretty solid on both sides of the football. Now the rain came, and in essence, it just forced everything to kind of be shut down, but it allowed for some of the mistakes that you've seen now to be exposed. It allowed for the chess pieces to be kind of played out to see who was able to handle it better. In terms of watching it on television, there was an added layer of drama in terms of seeing what could be executed. Seeing Michigan actually score in that environment was unbelievable. But then on the other side, you look at it and you say, man, this game could have been an all-time classic maybe if Michigan made some adjustments and had more opportunities to do some things. But maybe John O'Korn would have had 8 turnovers, 8 interceptions. But do you feel like the rain ruined the game? I feel like it added a layer of intrigue and added a lot to the contest because it forced both teams to really, pull out all the stops and try to utilize any offensive threats that they had. And I felt like it was an interesting component to this year's matchup. At the same time, you can also turn it around and say, man, we might have missed out on an all-time classic. Had Michigan State maybe even put the pedal to the metal, you might have seen ass kicking. You never know. Or Michigan could have actually executed better after that touchdown had the weather not been so inclement. It was so awful.
With the way these offenses were playing, it really looked like a 3-legged cat trying to bury a turd on a frozen pond. So it was, I don't know if it would have been a classic. I get what you're saying. It was a close score. It was kind of a back-and-forth game. At no point did you ever feel like Michigan State was pulling away from Michigan, and at no point did you ever feel like Michigan was pulling away from Michigan State. I don't think that the rain ruined the game. I think that the rain made it a little bit more interesting because it was, how is Michigan going to now adjust, right? You already knew what Michigan State was doing. Michigan State was going to run the ball. They were going to throw when they had to, and they were going to run the ball. They were going to pound the rock, and that's exactly what they did. And that's how they won the game. And Michigan could not stop them up front. Their defensive line did a good enough job keeping them in the game, but Michigan State was able to sit there and run on them. Not at will, but when they needed to make a big play, they were able to get the big play with their legs. I think the rain made it a little bit more interesting. I think this would have been a much better game if Michigan's head coach and Michigan's coaching staff knew how to make an adjustment and figure things out and could look at what was going on and say, look, guys, it's pouring down rain. John, you're not going to throw the ball. We can't throw the ball. The only time we'll throw the ball is if we absolutely have to. If we've got to get 10 yards because Michigan State has stymied us the next 2 plays, then we'll throw the ball. But other than that, we're not throwing it. And we're not going deep if we throw it. If we throw it, it's a 5-yard out. That's it. We're going to sit there. We're going to play ball control, and we're going to play field position. And that's what we're doing, and we're going to win this game. I don't think the coaching staff did that. I don't think the coaching staff understands how to do that. And I don't know why. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh's ego is so big that it doesn't allow him to sit there and make the correct calls and and adjust the game accordingly based on what he's seeing and what he's been given. It was raining. I remember sitting at the table looking at the screen, yelling out loud in the middle of this bar, "What the F are you doing? Run the damn ball." And everybody just kind of looked at me, and I was like, "Run the ball!" Like, I looked at them, and I was like, "What do you want from me?" I think it made it more interesting. I think if Michigan could have gotten out of their own way and made the proper adjustments, I think this would have been a classic. But I think they got in their own way, and they shot themselves in the foot, man.
Unbelievable. 2 of the last 3 years, Michigan State has gone to the Big House and walked away with the Paul Bunyan Trophy, man. It's amazing. It was an amazing contest. It was one where all Michigan State supporters walk away going, okay, last year was an abomination.
You had a horrible season last year. Horrible. And still, that game was close. And that game was close. You mean to tell me at Michigan State's lowest, at their very, very bottom, you still have a close game with them? And you can't beat them 2 out of 3 years?
I want to ask you this. Let's say Jim Harbaugh's not the guy. Let's say you get a guy that is a 10 and 11 win coach every single year, but he just has difficulties beating his rivals and getting into that next level. Is that a fireable offense? Can you tolerate 10, 11 wins, going 11-2, 10-2, 10-3, but really struggling versus State and Ohio State, or never ever making it to the Final Four? Can you tolerate that? Because it's really hard in college football. Look at other teams. I mean, you have turnover across the SEC, the Pac-10. You got to remember, Jim Harbaugh has won 10 games each of his first couple seasons. You see the trajectory maybe not being as super high as expected, but the drop-off isn't bad. If you got a coach that can get you 10 wins every year, I think maybe the problem is the expectations might have been too high, calling him an individual that was Nick Saban, calling him an individual that's on the caliber of a D'Antonio, on the same level as an Urban Meyer. When in essence right now, he's not.
So you got John Cooper then. You've got John Cooper as your head coach. You're paying $9 million for John Cooper. Yes, that's a fireable offense. Okay. Absolutely, it's a fireable offense. You need to sit there and if you're Michigan, you need to take a long, hard look at what you're doing, where you're going, and what the game plan is. Jim Harbaugh has been hired to come in here, and he's been given complete autonomy. He's had to answer to nobody. Ward Manuel, figure it out. He's allowed to sit there and do crazy stunts, allowed to climb trees, sleep over at 18-year-old boys' houses, which is weird, okay? And I'll be the first to tell you it's weird. All right, you got a kicker, though. Look, Quinn Nordin's the truth. I like Quinn Nordin. I think he's a really good kicker, but it's still weird. So you go out and you've got this head coach who's been able to do whatever he wants, and this is where we're at. This is where we're at. You can't beat your 2 biggest rivals, and yes, Michigan State's a rivalry, so Michigan fans, shove it, all right? Shove it. You got John Cooper. That's a fireable offense. John Cooper, no, not allowed. If Jim Harbaugh's not the guy, he's not the guy who's going to sit there and he's not going to win you a Big Ten championship, because this is where we're at. It's about winning a Big Ten championship. Do you know why? Because the Big Ten championship is like the golden key. It gets you into the playoff. You get into the playoff, and you can win a national championship. So you get the golden ticket, which is winning the Big Ten, so you have to do that. So win your division, which is the East, then win the Big Ten championship, and then after that, you go on to the playoff, and then you've got to take care of business. You got to win a national championship. Those are your 4 goals, and those should be the 4 goals every single season. I don't want to hear this crap about rebuilding, getting better, doing this. No. You should be reloading. Every single year, you reload.
If your expectation is that you got Nick Saban, I think everybody's going to be disappointed. For Michigan State, they do tend to struggle a little bit the week after playing Michigan, and it is sometimes a little bit of a letdown. They go on the road, I believe, and play Minnesota this week.
It's going to be a tough game.
They got to be very careful not to let a victory versus Michigan kind of overshadow what's important now. You got to put it behind you. It was great. We're here now recording midweek. Now you got to put your attention, set your sights on Minnesota, and not let anything get in your way of having potentially an 8-9 win season, which would be amazing at this point in time. I still see Michigan State struggling with Penn State, Ohio State, and I think they're going to finish with probably 3 to 4 losses this year. But if you get back to a bowl game,
would it surprise you though if they were able to come out of those 2 games with a win? It wouldn't surprise me at all.
One of them
wouldn't surprise me.
No, because when you build a team based on defense and you have a competitive head coach, and
you've got a good quarterback. Lewerke's a good quarterback.
Lewerke is an individual that's a gamer.
He's young, but he's a good quarterback.
He's young, and you're now developing young talent on the offensive side. You just got to basically we really got to figure out what's going on with LJ Scott because his contributions in that game versus Michigan were limited. He was on the bench, I believe, for the whole first half.
Yeah,
and we can't figure out yet.
That was weird.
I've been looking. I asked Justin Rose on our Twitter page. I said, hey, any word on what's going on with LJ Scott? I'm thinking maybe the fumbles or maybe he violated some team rules, maybe meetings, something, just speculating.
So Marky D ended up putting his foot down finally,
Somebody, maybe because he wasn't there, or maybe
Give him enough rope to hang himself.
Or maybe he's hurt now or something happened where he wasn't able to contribute. But I feel like going forward, Michigan State now has, and you got to remember too, both teams are young. So Michigan State's not losing a lot of talent. They're only going to get better. So the road
they're going to be much more difficult next year
for Michigan is a lot harder. So if you're not doing it now, good luck going on the road next year. So in essence, 3 games now versus your rivals are ahead. One versus Ohio State, then the next one versus Michigan State, and then the next one versus Ohio State next year. There's just an over 80% chance you go 0-3. Yeah. There's a strong chance, and so you're looking at potentially 1-7 versus your rivals. But Jim Harbaugh was quick to point out that they are winning games versus other teams.
Oh, versus everybody else. Okay, good job. Good job. Hey, you know what? You play Rutgers.
Yeah.
Rutgers is like going down to the disabled high school and playing a game against those kids, okay? I mean, I don't want to hear about Rutgers. I don't want to hear about Maryland. Those are 2 awful Jim Delaney moves. Jim Delaney's a boob. He can go shove it too. Him and Jim Harbaugh, go get in a canoe and row, honestly.
Does this linger for Michigan? Do they go play Indiana strong, or does this linger and potentially you see more struggles with John O'Korn in the future?
Look, if you're Michigan, if you're Jim Harbaugh, you need to get this figured out this week right now. Right now. You need to be working those kids into the ground. Figure it out. Figure out who your quarterback is. If you wanted to sit there and you wanted to play 2 quarterbacks for the first half, I'm cool with it. Figure out what you got with Brandon Peters. He might be better than John O'Korn. And if he beats out John O'Korn, okay, fine. John O'Korn is relegated back to your backup. It's fine. But you need to figure out your offensive line, figure out your quarterback right now, this week. You should have had it figured out last week. All right, you had a whole week off to prepare for Michigan State.
What words did your stepdad use to describe that mess on Saturday?
I haven't even talked to him about it.
Oh!
I haven't even talked to him about it.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see him again. Oh, my goodness.
I talked to my mom, and my mom was like, that was a horrible game. Her words were, that was shit. And I was like, yes, it was. It was that. And I sat there and I went off on a rant, and she just put the phone, like, I know what she did. She sat there, she was at her house, she put the phone down on the counter, and she walked away to go do something, and then she came back and I was still ranting.
I'll take the last word on this segment. In essence, what Michigan fans have, which is really frustrating as sports fans, is you have a big tease. That's what Jim Harbaugh is he's been teased as an individual that can come in and save the Michigan program. He's been teased as this big deity that can come in and bring Michigan back to the likes of Alabama. Now, you guys weren't even humble and trying to set your sights on at least trying to take over the state. You jumped over your rival. You wanted to, what I try to do sometimes, is cut to the front of the line and take shortcuts. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The road to success for Michigan, and it may suck for you to hear it, the road to success for Michigan starts with Michigan State. So maybe Michigan fans, when you're out there, when you're maize and blue, and you're talking about excuses, and you're talking about little brother, or you're talking about the rivalry over the last 200 years, no, just look at the last 10 years, okay? Because we're people that like to stick in the present. Just look at it and recognize that you've been teased. And unfortunately, when it comes time for the payoff, the rug has been pulled out from under you. You're starting now to see, oh shit, there's a bunch of mold up in our house. There's a bunch of dust. There's a bunch of crap in this house. It's not all nice. It's not all pretty. Jim Harbaugh's not your savior, unfortunately. He'll be a guy that will give you success, but I believe you're going to crumble under the weight of your own expectations because you guys expected a national title. It ain't going to happen. It ain't ever going to happen because of the fact that there are powerhouses out there. There are a lot of better coaches out there. There are a lot of better situations out there for that to happen. Now, what do you have? You have a program coach. You have a guy that can get you 9 to 11 wins every year. Does he take Michigan ever to a title? No, because he's a tease. And 2, because of the fact that at this point in time, you got to have a lot of things go well. And it's not all his fault. You know how hard it is to beat Alabama? Do you know how difficult and how much work they put in? I just feel like at this point in time, when the weight of the expectations starts now, this has just started, because I do believe it's going to be 1-7 versus rivals. I do believe you're going to see 2 losses every year. Because remember, what did I say? A psychologist podcaster last week. I said, whoa, maybe there's a chance John O'Korn is going to turn the ball over to Michigan State. Why did I say that? Experience, okay? So next year, you're going to expect Brandon Peters to show up and start balling out and win a national title in 1 year.
That's why you start him now.
That's right. So you expect a guy with lack of experience to kind of go out there and do some things. You expected that from John O'Corn. Didn't happen. You were teased. So I would agree. I think the best course of action for Michigan is to start looking at the future now, because if the trajectory is to get to the college football playoff, playing John O'Corn, waiting out Wilton Spate, it will not happen. So I'm sorry you guys were teased. I'm sorry that you guys are now really devastated and looking at the real program in the state, and that's Michigan State. They're not sorry.
You're not sorry.
I'm not sorry
You're
at all.
sorry.
This is great, huh? I get to sit here and gloat and have the best week ever. And that's what the rivalry is all about, though, is that back and forth, you guys spew it, we spew it back, and now we get to sit here for the next 365 days, puff our chest out, and really throw it back at you guys. You guys got to start looking at the investment you made in your guy, because he ain't delivering. You've been teased. And being teased sucks, and I'm here to tell you, maybe you should just really watch what real football looks like over in East Lansing and watch what real football looks like in Columbus, because that's what you guys are striving for, and good luck, but it's going to be bumpy times ahead. I'm sorry.
Look, college football is predicated on, offensively, it's predicated on really two things: having a good offensive line and being able to run the ball. Look at how Alabama has won their national championships. Ships, 2, plural, 3, plural. Multiple, numerous, couple. They have, I don't know how many. Look at how they've done it. They've done it with beef up front, who's able to control the offensive line, and they've done it with running backs who can sit there and stretch the field and pick up big plays and chunk yards. They don't have quarterbacks who are really any good. A.J. McCarron's a really good quarterback? Are you serious? Get the hell out of here.
No, I think the fact is Michigan needs to humble itself as a program and really start building the blocks that are needed for success. Step 1, beat Michigan State consistently. Step
Absolutely.
2, get to Indy. You have to actually play a game in Indy.
It should be step 1, beat Michigan State. Step 2, beat Ohio State. Step 3, you're going to Indy.
You're going to Indy. And then,
win that.
Then potentially you can see yourself in the national title picture and see about, really, in the end, you guys are at square one. And year 3, you guys are still at square one.
Year 3,
that's where you're at.
We're basically it's just like starting over. Like starting over.
At a clip of $9 million a year and adding assistants that are making a boatload of money. So
it's ridiculous.
So
absolutely ridiculous.
Big tease is how we'll describe it on our way out.
Do you think that Jim Harbaugh reaches out to a guy like Les Miles? Les Miles is a great head coach. I like Les Miles. I think he's crazy. I mean, like, that dude picked up grass and ate grass while he was on the sideline. He did it often. Okay, Les Miles at Michigan was a really good offensive line coach. And he's really good in the trenches. On top of that, I think he's a really good motivator. I think he gets through to the kids. I think he's a really good recruiter, too.
That would be brave, because then you're hiring your replacement, in essence. Because if he doesn't work out...
That's if Les Miles wants to take that over. I don't know if Les Miles wants it. I mean, he's always wanted the job.
You got to have improvement. A lot of things have to improve, and that's, I think, why people...
show some balls.
That's why people are upset, is that you have potentially a quality defense, and Jim Harbaugh is in charge of the offense, and it doesn't look as quality as many would have expected. Interesting. Stay with us. Second half of the podcast, we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions, the disappointing Sunday, and what we saw there. A lot of things crumbling around the Detroit Lions right now with the news of some injuries, and our quarterback potentially, getting sacked 12 times in 2 weeks has not done him any wonders.
Dead.
Stay with us. You're listening to Doc and Jock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. If you've just enjoyed the quality segment you've just heard, it's all thanks to our host site, Podomatic. We're able to bring you every week uncensored, unfiltered content courtesy of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. When Adam and I started this project, this was the reason why we wanted to do this. We were able to just turn on the microphones. We have no outside input into our product. We're able to just rant and rave and talk about Detroit sports in our way. And that's how we've been able to grow this. If you want to start a project, if you see us and you listen and you check out our website and you're like, I think I can do this, definitely check out a quality host site, Podomatic.com. Quality links, great customer service. After listening to Adam rant and rave about Michigan, I'm going to take this fine audio, put it up there in about 5 minutes, and then all of our supporters can listen and enjoy and give feedback each and every week. And Adam, I want to give you credit. I don't think you've said, and you sit there, I haven't heard it yet. I was trying to siren it. I don't think you've said sit there once, maybe. But the good thing is your supporters maybe across the country that enjoy your product, like the Detroit Sports Chat, maybe in Florida, can message you and say, hey, stop using that word. It's annoying.
I was really trying this week to not say it at all.
And you sit there with that awful shirt. If you're looking to start a brand new project, Doc and Jock, all the hosts on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, we're going to recommend one host site, Podomatic.com. man, cuz what do we say? Whenever the Lions get a little taste of respect, all national pundits had the Lions defeating Carolina. And what happened? Oh, man. Carolina's the class of the NFC. And the Lions, obviously, they stood toe-to-toe with them a little bit, and they came up short. I wasn't as angry as I would have been in past because I kind of had a feeling that it was going to take a significant offensive effort to overtake Carolina. When you see Carolina going toe-to-toe and putting a hurting on the New England Patriots, you know you got something fierce going on. And then you look at it and you go, Carolina, ooh, that's a solid team with real weapons across the board.
That Patriots defense is awful, though.
It is, but you still got to go and do it.
That's true.
You still got to go out there and execute.
They do have weapons. They do have weapons.
Exactly. So my takeaway was, oh my goodness, if that offensive line does not improve like that, oh shit, Matthew Stafford might not make it out of the season.
We were just talking about turnstiles on offense, right? I mean, you talked about the Michigan line there, and they were just letting the floodgates come in. Greg Robinson, can somebody go find his jockstrap and maybe
this is bad.
Put some balls in there? Yes, Adam, it is bad. Put some balls in there for that guy. Can he please stand up and make a block? Can he protect his quarterback? Matt Stafford, and look, this is how Matt Stafford's legend grows, right? And look, I know a lot of people out there are kind of 50-50 on the guy, but he had that moment when he was mic'd up against the Cleveland Browns, and he sat there, separated his shoulder, and threw the ball.
You sat there.
Did I say it? Did I say it?
You did. I caught you.
I almost said it again. He threw that pass against the Cleveland Browns. Anyways, he's out there, and the guy can hardly get around. I mean, he's hobbled. His thigh is mangled. His knee is mangled. He's got a bum ankle. I mean, he's questionable going into this game against the Saints right now. So Greg Robinson needs to figure out what he wants to do and what he wants to be. Like, do you want to be a left tackle in this league? Would you rather be a left guard, or maybe you'd rather be a right tackle? You need to figure out what you want to be, and you need to perform. You heard it last week. What was it? Yeah, it was the Minnesota game, where he was called out about being lazy. And you kind of seen it in this game. I mean, he got taken to task time after time after time after time. And you feel bad for Matt Stafford because he's trying to do everything he can do, and he's just getting hounded by guys. So the coaching staff needs to figure something out. You either have to go to your backup, and I don't know if your backup's any better than what you got here, or you need to sit there and put a tight end in to chip. Or Zach Zenner's got to play every down, and he's got to be your blocking back, because obviously he's your best blocking back that you have. On top of that, he can recover a fumble when Matt Stafford puts it on the ground, because he's fumbled a lot in this game against Carolina. Carolina is the beast in the NFC right now.
Exactly. And many people, like you and I said, look, Amir Abdullah, people are starting to wake up a little bit and say, look, this guy's a complimentary piece.
What an awful
He's
game.
talent. He needs to be on the team, but not the featured starter. He needs to be a complimentary piece. That's his role. And I think he could succeed at that role. But to have him be the feature back with this line right now that's having a little bit of issues is going to be a nightmare the rest of the way. So I don't see it being successful. The other point that you and I and everybody in town is looking at, and what we're trying to figure out, is when are the Lions going to hold Eric Ebron accountable? Period. Here's the thing. You look at a player like an Eric Ebron, and you see the molding of some talent. It's deep in there. You got to look hard, but you see a tall guy with speed, and you see the potential. He's got the fit of a guy that can do some things. But then you look at the other side, and you go, oh, a backup named Dixon for the Carolina Panthers is just going off, catching the ball and making plays. And you went out there and you drafted another tight end, and you brought one in free agency. So what does that say about Eric Ebron? What it says to me, and what and I don't know if you've seen the latest, is that he's been battling the mental side of the game.
Oh, jeez.
It's been, oh my God, he had to have a meeting with Matthew Stafford to get his mind right. And so for me, that just indicates...
Is Matthew Stafford an exorcist?
I think he's going to try to... Matthew Stafford's going to be a psychologist this week. Try to get Eric Ebron back on track and maybe tell him, look, man, you're all good. I found it... You know what jumped the shock for me on Eric Ebron? When he made his one catch, Stafford ran over there and patted him on the butt. You see that? That was ridiculous.
He obviously he needs...
coddling.
Yes, he needs... What is that? Reinforcement. He needs to be...
Good job, bro!
Yeah, touched and
Keep
rubbed
your head
down.
in it. No, I think it's a big problem.
Ed Dixon? Do you realize Ed Dixon had 5 targets and 5 receptions?
Yeah.
175 yards.
That's what tight end looks like, right?
Yeah.
So here's
It's
the
a
problem.
backup tight end.
I was telling Jason this. I'm like, look, the game can be quite simple, or you can make it really hard. When you're in the red zone, while Eric Ebron is in this mental space where he's trying to figure it out, when he's not in his zen zone, potentially.
His zen zone.
Maybe you don't target him. You don't expect him to do that. Maybe early in the game, you let him work between the 20s. Period. You're the guy. We'll get you a couple screens here and there. We'll get you the easy passes. Then when we're in the 20, we'll go to Fells. We'll go to Roberts. We'll go to somebody else. We'll go to Jones. We'll go to anybody else not named Eric Ebron. I feel like that's an easy decision. Yet Jim Caldwell, week in, week out, and says it's our job to get him to perform. Look, everybody knows it. It's done. It's written in stone. When the season ends, Eric Ebron will not be extended. He's gone.
He's got to.
He's got to be gone. And now he's hurting the team.
Darren Fells, who is your backup tight end, had more receptions and scored 2 touchdowns. Mind you, on the flip, right, we just gave you Ed Dixon's stats. Eric Ebron had 4 targets, caught 1 ball for 6 yards.
And he got a pat on the butt for that.
Yeah, good job. Good job. And going more to your point about him looking the part, right? I mean, this guy's 6'4", he's over 250. He's a physical specimen, right? The guy can sit there and he appears like he can do it all. I think a lot of it's between the ears, man. I think he just doesn't pay attention, or he's not focused. And I think he's all over the place. Everything else is more important. I don't know how you're playing a game where your career can end on just one snap of the ball. Your job is to catch the ball. That's why they brought you in here. The old offensive coordinator was so impressed with what you did in a B- league like the ACC that he said, hey, this guy from North Carolina, let's go get him because he's really good playing against subpar talent. Let's go grab that kid and let's plug him in. He's going to be our new starting tight end. He's going to be like our Jimmy Graham.
Man, it's just one of those things where when you recognize the guy's not contributing, sit him on the bench. I mean, let him go. Give Jim Caldwell. You know what Jim Caldwell needs to do? He needs to walk over there and tell Ebron, look, go over there and tweet. Just go sit there and tweet to your fans and tweet love and pump yourself up, because that's what you're effective at. Is Jim Caldwell needs to just maybe even if Jim Caldwell wants to be funny, he can just walk up to the podium and be like, look, our Eric Ebron, he needs to #stay woke.
See, he does. This is what I don't understand, though, right? If you go back and you look at
Stay woke.
Yes, stay woke. Look at his game log. Just look at the inconsistency, right? The game against the Giants, he had a hell of a game. He caught a touchdown. He was 5 for 5 on his targets, right? He sat there, caught a ball downfield. And then the very next game, he's 2 for 7 for 9 yards. And he's nowhere to be found. The game against Minnesota, he was 2 for 4. Nowhere to be found. This game against Carolina, 1 for 4. And it was a 6-yard grab. And then he got patted on the butt by Matt Stafford saying, hey, good job. Way to not drop that one, Butterfingers. Dude, you have all the talent in the world. And everybody wants to like you, right? Everybody wants this draft pick to be right because they invested a 10th overall pick in you, a first-round pick. And there were guys out there who could have immediately impacted this football team, could make us better today, could make us a lot better today. Instead, they got you. They got you. Everybody wants to like you. But you know what? You make it so damn hard because you can't catch the football. And then when you can't catch the football, you got to sit there and you got to talk smack about everybody else who sits there and boos you because you're an idiot and you don't know how to grab the damn football.
You know what?
Do your job.
I think I have the solution. As a psychologist, what's my job? To help, right?
Yeah.
Eric Ebron's got some mental problems, right?
Obviously.
I think potentially we'll sit back. Maybe he just needs to hear this in his headphones when he walks into New Orleans next week. Pipe it up. This is for Eric Ebron. We are doing our due diligence here at the Detroit Sports Podcast. Pump this up nice. Eric Ebron, this is for you, my man. This is going to get you back on track. If you need something, you need some external motivation.
Some Tina Turner?
Yes. You need this.
Pull your tampon out, Eric Ebron.
We need you. Catch the damn ball. You're the guy. You're getting paid millions. This is what we need. He needs external motivation. Something to get him over the hump. Some Tina Turner.
Just repeat this over and over. Repeat the chorus in your head.
Is it ever going to get here?
You're good enough. You're smart enough, and people like you, gosh darn it.
Your Twitter page is on fire.
I can't even breathe right now.
Eric! Better than anyone. Drafted 10th. It's you, baby. It's you. You the man. Get it together. He's going to have 5 touchdowns this week.
I hope so. Maybe I should go pick him up in fantasy. What do you think?
In all seriousness, do they rebound versus the Saints? They've had some success versus them.
They have. I mean,
versus them.
They are going on the road, so that's a tough place to play and win at. But look, I don't like the Saints' defense. I think they're porous. That offense has sputtered. They just traded Adrian Peterson, so that might fix some of their issues with what's going on with their head coach in that offense. I don't know. I think they can win. I think they can. Does that make you feel better? I think they can win. Mm-hmm. I just don't know, man. It's a tough place to play. That's an offense that can put up numbers. They like to throw the ball around. If their linebacking core, if the Lions' linebacking core can lock down the tight ends for New Orleans, because that reared its ugly head. I was having flashbacks and nightmares to last season where the tight ends were just going off on the Lions' defense. If they can lock down the tight ends, I think the secondary can do its job. I think Darius Slay and Glover Quinn and the rest of the guys can sit there and lock down that wide receiving core, and they could come away with a win. A lot's going to depend on Matt Stafford's health. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Do you think it lingers? I mean, seriously, could this be the case where last year the Lions had some success and then boom, that magical finger injury showed up, and then boom, he was, they lost the last 4 games. Now we're having success, 3-1, talk of the league, and now potentially leg problems or whatever's going on with him.
It's an ankle, and his quad was taped up too. That's the feeling I got watching that game as it unfolded down the stretch, and he was limping around on the sidelines, and he was limping around to get off the field. I was like, all right, so just like last year, our season's now going to be in the tank because our quarterback can't stay upright, because the offensive line just lets dudes just run roughshod on him. It's where I was at. And look, I just pulled up the 2014 NFL draft. So we took Eric Ebron 10th overall. If you wanted to sit there and address that offensive line, you could have took Taylor Lewan. He's been a pretty decent tackle in this league. You could have had Odell Beckham Jr. I probably wouldn't want those headaches, but hey, he's a performer. You could have had Aaron Donald. That guy's a stud. I don't know if you know that or not. You could add Ryan Shazier as a linebacker. That guy's a stud. I don't know if you know that. C.J. Mosley you could have had. He's pretty good. Clinton Dix. What about him? You could have had him. He went 21st overall to your boys in Green Bay. There are a ton of guys that you could have sat there and went after and picked up after this guy. And the guy doesn't perform.
It's going to be a wild contest on Sunday. I hope they rebound. It's going to be a situation where the Lions definitely have to get this victory. I mean, you could see this team spiral out of control. I mean, Haloti Ngata now done for the year. You're still trying to figure out what you got in Kenny Galladay. Jared Davis coming back was a nice piece.
Let's talk about that. Haloti Ngata's down. He's done for the year, or possibly done for the year with an elbow bicep injury. I mean, what does that do to this defense? He was an integral part in that defensive line. That defensive line was one of the best parts of this defense. I mean, they sat there and they didn't always get to the quarterback, but they mucked it up enough to sit there and put pressure on the quarterback. And during this game in Carolina, he sat there and made a lot of big plays. He sat there, stuffed the run. He sat there, put pressure on Cam. That guy, on top of it, his leadership alone. I don't know if Karan Reed comes in and has a season like he had a couple years ago. I don't know if that's going to sit there and translate.
Let's put it on the table. What do you think? They walk away from New Orleans with the victory or no?
I want to say yes so bad. So I think they win because I want to say yes. And I think they win by a Prater 51-yard field goal, and they end up winning like 22 to 21.
And that's the best way we can look at it pragmatically, is the Lions have a chance to win, not because of what they can do, but just due to the sheer nature that potentially New Orleans might be, a team that's not really that good on defense. But they found their running back. Kamara could do some things, and they were willing to let Peterson go as a result of it. So you got to contain Breeze. You got to contain the rookie running back and handle your business, and you can walk away with the victory. But if you don't execute, if you don't get those turnovers, if you continue to make mental mistakes, then there's a strong chance you're going to lose the game.
You know what I really think hurt the Lions this past week against Carolina? I think they were so concerned about Cam running. If you looked at the way they overcommitted to sit there and try to shift on him and to contain him, every time they did that, it would leave a guy open, generally in the flats or maybe 5, maybe 10 yards downfield, right? And Cam would just sit there and throw the ball up, or he would with the whole thing with the touchdown that McCaffrey had. Everybody was so concerned about him rolling out to the side. they left McCaffrey right there, and he just sat there, shuffle pass to McCaffrey. McCaffrey was able to scoot in, no problem. I think they were so concerned about Cam being able to terrorize them that they sat there and they left their other defensive responsibilities. I think the goal was to stop Cam. I think that was the issue, and that right there is probably what the nail in the coffin was for this game. That being said, look, Drew Brees is not as mobile of a quarterback as Cam Newton is. Their running game, I don't necessarily think that Mark Ingram is the best running back that can take advantage of this defense right now. I am concerned about Alvin Kamara. You got to watch him. But I think the defense rebounds this week. Even without Haloti Ngata, I think they rebound, and I think they're able to sit there and contain the running game for the Saints, and I think they're able to put a lot of pressure on Drew Brees.
All right, let's step away. One final timeout. We have to come back with the Doc and Jock Pro Wrestling Report to end the podcast. An amazing experience being at Little Caesars Arena for the first wrestling event at the new joint. It was fantastic. And then we will review Raw and SmackDown to end this podcast. Stay with us. You're listening to Doc and Jock. Thank you, everybody that's been supporting the Doc and Jock podcast and all the other shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. The free and easy way to keep the wind in the sails of this project is go check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. It's where you can go to find out who hosts what show when. If you have any online shopping needs to take care of, go click through that Amazon banner. If you're going to go check out the new Little Caesars Arena for any of the concerts or any of the sporting events in town, definitely click through the ticket banner and definitely support those who have supported us by clicking through the sponsor and supporter tabs. We greatly appreciate all the increased support, all the great comments that are messaged to us on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. It makes it really fun when you drop a podcast and you get great reviews. And even if you have some constructive criticism, we receive it always, and we try our absolute best to put out the best product. And I think our supporters are really great in that we get constructive and healthy criticism, and we have a lot of great online banter via our Twitter platform. If you want to follow Adam, follow him on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. If you want to follow the podcast, follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, the most interactive sports Twitter page in all of Metro Detroit. Thanks again. Check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
What an awesome couple of days if you've been a wrestling fan. Little Caesars Arena was able to host Hell in a Cell, and the Doc got to sit there and go and sit, 9 rows away from the ring. On top of that, if you watched it, you've seen the DSP signs everywhere.
The virus has spread now to the WWE. And for guys like us, you and I, we grew up as wrestling fans. I think everybody has a little bit of a dream one day just to kind of show up there and maybe get on television just once. But me and the wife were all over it.
All over it.
All over it. If you watch it.
The best was the screenshot you would send me, and I'd just see her face in the background. I was like, wow, she looks entertained.
Yeah, so it was so fun to make signs, and that's what it's about when you're a wrestling fan. You make signs with the hope of potentially getting your sign read, and the best one you'll know is, and now it lives forever on the WWE Network, when you go to Hell in a Cell 2017, is Randy Orton does his classic entrance. He gets on the rope, and they got the crane shot, and they go around, and all of a sudden you see, for a good 5 seconds, a big sign that says DSP. My other favorite one, I haven't watched it all the way through yet. Obviously, I sent you a lot of the ones that were sent to me and the ones that I found. But the best moment for me was when Jinder Mahal wins the match. Is I'm pumped up, I got my hands up doing the thing, and they catch me celebrating with my guy Jinder Mahal. So it was really awesome, and I had a good time. It was, all in all, for what I wanted to accomplish, getting my signs shown, the DSP and the Detroit's Glorious sign, I got that done. Seeing all the entrances, I got them all on video. And then just to top it off with what Shane did, I mean, I don't even know if I can even do it justice with my words in terms of how much fun I had. I screamed my head off. I posted the videos on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. I was thrilled. I was like, really what I did was I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep this positive hype train going. Michigan State won. I'm riding. I don't think it would have been as fun had Michigan defeated Michigan State. I feel like I rode the emotional train from Saturday night all the way into Sunday with the excitement of going and seeing what it was about. And then, getting to the arena seeing something new I never heard of. I don't understand how the East Club and the West Club of Little Caesars Arena is so underreported. It was amazing because, you get your ticket, you go down, and they're like, okay, you're going to the East Club. And you're like, well, what are you talking about? Am I going to get some kind of special treatment here or something special?
Like free drinks and food?
Not for wrestling, but they that is included for Pistons and hockey.
Okay.
I never heard about it. I had never heard about it. So we go in there and we're like, what is this? Great food, great drinks, a classy environment to be in. So I can see why people didn't want to hang out in the seats. You could hang out in the East Club and enjoy really a classy joint. I was like, wow, it was great.
So you've been at Little Caesars
three times.
And what's your review on the actual arena itself?
God.
I don't think we've had a chance to discuss that.
Little Caesars Arena. If you check out, I did a little bit of going around the stadium a little bit.
A lot of
periscopes. Simply, and I don't want to sound like, elitist, but I could not sit in the 200s. I was scared. I literally went up there and my heart was pounding a little bit. It's
Put
too
that
steep.
Pinky up, bro. Put that pinky up.
No, I'm not putting the pinky up. It's just my heart was pounding, and they do offset it with a lot of rails, but the 200s are very steep. I don't like that design in a stadium. It does have its benefits of the worst seat, you get great views. I know why they do it. But in terms of if you have kids, they're going to be freaked out because you literally are like sitting at almost a 45-degree angle, up. And I'm not a fan of that. But in the lower bowl, it's amazing. When you walk in, you just get a feel of a new joint. I had the same feel when I walked into Indy, though. It does have the vibe of a new arena, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved being there. I love seeing everything. It just feels new. It feels great. It feels classy. All the staff was great. Everything was amazing. I mean, the experience was great. They catered to you. But, on the other side of it is expensive. You can't. A family of four is not going to be able to go, for a whole season on an average middle-class family. It's very expensive. Everything's super high priced. But if you're, willing to sit in the nosebleeds and you want to eat at home, you can get in there pretty cheap for most stuff. But the comfort level for me is that the way I'm going to do it is probably one Red Wing game, one Piston game, and one wrestling event, every couple years. That's it. I'm more of
rotate them around.
Rotate it around and try and get in there through a credential. Shoot. But in terms of Hell in a Cell, started off with the bang because boom, right when the event started, they bring the cage down and then the Usos take on the New Day in an unbelievable matchup. It was, back and forth, vitriol. And the thing that you notice when you're there live is the aggression was a little bit amped up on a pay-per-view than what you normally see on a Raw or a SmackDown. They were amped. They were pulling out moves. And so the first match set the tone. Now, the rest of the card up until the main event was a little bit average in terms of, results and the wrestling and things like that.
Did you feel like the crowd got sucked out of it because of some of that?
I feel like when I was telling Andrea, I said, look, it was sold out officially, but there were a lot of empty seats on the other side, the non-TV side, to kind of peel back the curtain. Mm-hmm. The other side, where you saw the wrestlers looking at, was a little bit empty. But I think it was due to the Lions game. That's 65,000 people bummed out. That's a hard ask, is to ask people to go to Ford Field. A lot of those people would be wrestling fans, and then to ask them to come over. But, the sold-out announced crowd of 16,000, that's still quite a number. But a lot of them maybe were hanging out in the East Club or hanging out or didn't show up, even though the tickets might have been purchased. But yeah, the crowd was not a typical crowd that I saw until the main event. A crowd, they weren't chanting as loud or as feverishly. The one that was most popular was the one where, the ring announcer goes, and this match is for one fall. The entire arena every time would be like, one fall! And they would scream and get into it. But listen, when you get to the main event and you see stuff like that, you're just like, whoa. It made the pay-per-view an A+ pay-per-view. Because of the
Shane died.
I was shocked at what I saw because you see it on TV, it's like, oh, he's on the cage. But to see Kevin Owens take that bump from the side of the cage, to see them climb up, you're like, no. We were like, no, don't do it. We're like, don't do it. But to see it live, it was unbelievable. Now, my wife saw a nuance that I didn't see. When the cage was coming down, she focused on the cage. I was just looking around like in La La Land, like, dude, this is a cage. She saw on the sides, they cut out holes for their feet to go in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, specifically, if you look on the pay-per-view, you'll see it because dudes can't climb a cage.
Yeah.
So what they do is they cut out a little circle so they can get their feet in.
Yeah.
So my wife was like,
a little too big to climb.
My wife's like, John, about halfway through, there's going to be some wildness in this. I'm like, because I thought for me, I was so pleasantly surprised because one of our supporters said, "Oh, there might be a pre-tape segment." The match didn't start till 10:52, so I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be an ass-kicking 9-minute match," and it's done. So I thought, okay, Kevin Owens is gonna whip his ass. So once it kept going and
it was like a 35-minute match, wasn't it?
The card ended at 11:33.
Yeah.
So 11:22 is when they start climbing the cage, and I'm like, dude, this is violent. And then they wrestle on the cage. Shane McMahon takes the bump. Kevin Owens teased the jump, to the bottom. And he teased it 3-4 times, so it got you emotionally invested. But in the end, to see Shane McMahon jump off of a cage at Little Caesars Arena, my reactions on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, I screamed. I screamed in excitement. I give the man credit for being a multimillionaire, willing to do that to entertain the fans. It lived up to Hell in a Cell. It's a nightmare, and those that are in it are never the same. And you had a swerve with Sami Zayn turning heel. Kevin Owens gained more respect for being a guy willing to take a bump off the side of the cage when you don't have to. It was an amazing match to witness live, to be in that environment, to see how the psychology of what they elicited, both Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon, it lived up to it. And the 2 cage matches really overshadowed the rest of the card, as it should have.
Did you notice that was Sami Zayn before it was revealed that it was Sami Zayn?
No, I had no idea.
Was he out there the whole time, or did he come down, sneak
secretly?
Through the crowd?
What he did was he kind of wore a hood next to the ring. He kind of snuck down.
Okay.
So from my vantage point, I was on the other side, so I didn't get a chance to see it. All of a sudden, when it happened, the first thing people did once Shane jumped was ask, "Is he okay? Is he okay?" Because there was a pause. Then all of a sudden, you started hearing the crowd say, "It's Sammy! It's Sammy! He pulled him!" Because then you recognize that, oh no, it didn't. He didn't land on.
He didn't land on Kevin.
He didn't land on Kevin. And then you hear the 1, 2, 3. You recognize what was going on.
Gotcha.
And then everyone caught up. It was like, oh, Sammy turned heel. Because there was a little bit of a hint of maybe Sammy in the arena was going to do something. If you're a little bit of a mark.
Because if you were watching, you had no idea that it was Sammy until there was the great reveal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're like, wait, what's going on? Who? And then, and next thing you know, you got Sammy throwing Kevin on top of on Shane, and you're like, whoa, what just happened?
So being in the arena, I implore everybody, get good seats one time in your life. It's an amazing thing to see, just these guys and how the little bit of behind the scenes stuff, like how the ring is amplified, like the thumps were amplified. You get to see a little bit of more intricacy in terms of how they communicate, and it just makes you appreciate it a lot more because AJ Styles doing his flips, everybody went all out. The psychology of a match was amazing. The entrances, there were literally 6 entrances that made me mark out. So if you're a mark like me and Adam, and you get a chance to do it once in your life, I recommend it. And now, like I said, the most fun for me was getting the sign on the event because, like I said, we spread this thing like a virus, and to just know that, you think in your mind maybe once, a glimpse, but to see it like that, and that's why I was geeking out like a little kid, and I had a great time, and it lived up to the entire hype of what I wanted to do, and I had a great time.
Let me ask you this. So this will basically be wrestling podcast for 2 here. But with Shane McMahon, when he wrestles, he's not very good. That's why he does the
punches are terrible.
Yes, that's why he does the stunts and all the crazy stuff. At any point in this match, because I was listening to Chris Jericho talk about wrestling him before, and he sat there and he basically punched Chris Jericho, I think 3 times in the nose, basically making his eyes water. Chris Jericho then sat there and kicked him, like legit kicked him in the stomach and threw him into the corner because he wasn't listening. Jericho wanted him to sit there, grapple with me, throw me off the ropes, I'll come back to you, and then you knock me down, clothesline, we'll go to the mat, and we'll do something from there. So basically, Shane just kind of blacks out when he wrestles, and he just kind of wrestles.
He's not
like
a wrestler.
Maniac.
He's not a wrestler.
Not at all. So did you notice any of that, and did you see Kevin giving him any direction? Because he's not a wrestler, and usually in a wrestling match, the heel will call the entire action. The heel will dictate what's going to happen next.
I felt like the pace was perfect for what Shane was trying to do because Shane's going to do the high spots.
Right.
But it was a lot about Shane taking a punishment.
Okay.
So, no, I didn't see them botch stuff. No, the punches were bad. Yeah,
His punches are always bad.
Yeah, so you look at it, and the way I look at it for me in terms of Shane, I feel like he's just trying to prove something to his dad. Every time
Doesn't it always feel like that?
You're just trying to just go out there and just each time he goes out there is just trying to, it's just him proving himself to himself and his family, and then for his dad watching in the back. Because why else would you climb a cage? Why else would you do these moves? Why else would you try and
at
do
some point?
At 47,
he's gonna die.
Dude is 47 years old, jumping off of a cage.
His hips aren't going to be right ever.
Exactly.
Do you realize that he was the one who was supposed to take over when Vince left? Right?
Yeah.
He left because him and Vince had a little bit of a falling out and a disagreement.
Yeah.
So now it's probably going to be Stephanie and Hunter. How bad would that chap your ass?
Oh, I would be pissed
if your brother-in-law is now basically your boss, I'd be pissed.
But yeah, it might be something to talk about too, but that's why he left. I feel like that's where the fire was the most, was 10 years ago when he left.
Yes.
So I think he got a sense that I'm not going to ever be good enough for my dad, so I want to leave. But then he came back. So now at 47, when you got a family and you realize, look, I'm going to cash a check for $1 million a year.
Dude, and his kids were at ringside.
Yeah.
Would you want your kids there to see you do something like that?
No, not at all. But I feel like at 47, for me now being 38, you start to slow down. You just go, you know what? What's more important? My name's on this. Vince McMahon's legacy is on this. I'm Shane McMahon. I'll always have a part. He'll be basically Vince.
Yeah.
He can always be a character. But you feel like at the same time, Triple H is not an unworthy man. The man's grinding.
No,
he's doing.
NXT is great.
Triple H has helped the McMahon brand, and now that he's married to your sister, you got to be cool with it.
Let's put it this way, right? NXT, if the things that they do in NXT they were doing on the main roster, I think all of us would be much more happy with our wrestling product.
Yeah.
They sit there, they bring guys up, and they change their character too much. Like Bobby Roode in NXT was a heel. He was a great heel. Vince made him a face. Why? Nobody understands.
Yeah.
Nakamura was so dominant in NXT.
Yeah.
And now he comes up here and he's losing to Jinder left and right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So they change way too much about these characters going from NXT to the big show. So no, I think you're right. I think Triple H has
done a great job.
Yes, he's worthy. But at the same point, you banged my sister to get this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I would be pissed.
Yeah,
I'd be pissed. That's me.
I'm certain that if you're a friend of Shane McMahon, that conversation has been had. Like,
sure.
Some dissing on Triple H.
I'm sure. There's supposed to be heat with them.
It could be. Yeah, it could translate into WrestleMania.
Yes, I was going to say down the road there might be a WrestleMania match.
This could extend out.
Triple H versus Shane.
Yeah,
that would be interesting to see.
Being a smart mark, some people are saying that maybe Triple H ordered Kevin Owens to kind of rough him up a little bit, and this could potentially lead into some WrestleMania type stuff.
Possible.
Now, quickly reviewing the other two shows, Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown, for me, I want to start there.
Okay.
Coming off of Hell in the Cell, you would have thought there would be more.
Yes.
But it was disappointing all the way around. Basically, the first 15-minute segment, basically kicked off the show, and that was the best part of the show.
That was the absolute
That
best.
was it.
The Usos cut a great promo with the New Day.
That was it.
I loved it. They referred,
all the tag teams were back.
Yes.
Yeah.
They referred to Shelton basically as a product, which I thought was great. Like, oh, look, you got yourself a Shelton.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Exactly.
I like that the New Day was like, no, Breezango is cool.
Yes.
And the whole crowd popped for that.
And then you have another a tag team match, which highlights the strength of SmackDown right now with the tag team division.
Yes.
And now you're adding Luke Harper and Eric Rowan to this mix. It's going to elevate the tag team, but it just felt like the tail end of a 5-day adventure, and that's what it looked
felt like after the first hour, you could have turned it off. It was no big deal.
That's it. And
what did you think about Sammy's explanation? I felt like it just kind of droned on, and it didn't lead anywhere. It felt like there was nothing there. There was
nothing.
No heat.
It was not good enough to be a heel. No, it was a little bit corny, and it's just like everybody, it's hard when you're a face to become a heel and actually do it right. So it was delivered poorly.
I felt like when he came out, though, they should have changed his entrance music a little bit.
Yep.
The graphic was a little bit different. Yeah. They should have changed his entrance music a little bit. And
a little darker,
yes,
yeah.
And his facial expressions needed to change. It looked like he was confused as to how he should act.
Exactly.
And I was kind of like, all right, so you're confused, so now I'm confused. I have no idea what the hell's going on.
One other aspect of the show I liked is you just recognize, again, even in losses, AJ Styles makes wrestlers. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Baron Corbin, now you respect him because he's been in the ring with AJ Styles.
I don't respect Baron Corbin, but I understand what you're saying.
The match at Hell in a Cell was quality, and AJ Styles didn't get pinned, but AJ Styles, when he's in a ring with somebody, just makes everybody a little bit better. Even, maybe people are stepping up their game. AJ Styles, calls a quality psychological match. Yes. And Baron Corbin now is the U.S. champ. Most people aren't happy with that, but I can see when you want to elevate somebody. AJ doesn't need a belt. It's just a prop for him. Dude can flat out wrestle. When you see the man, what I told Andrea at the event was, dude is so flawless in the ring that he makes it look easy.
Yes.
That's how clean he was. He just moves around the ring. He sells well. He bumps flawlessly. There was not even a misstep. It felt like every step he took was like a world-class ballet dancer in terms of just each step had a purpose. He flung himself around the ring. I mean...
And he takes hard bumps, too.
You know how hard it is to throw yourself over a rope and get yourself... These guys... You really appreciate what wrestlers do.
They're athletes, dude.
They're real athletes, and AJ Styles is one of the best. And unfortunately, he's not the champ anymore, but I want to see where he goes next.
So this is the thing, right? So Baron Corbin's bad. Ty Dillinger is good enough to where he should be a glorified jobber, right? I like Ty, but he's a glorified jobber. And then you've got AJ Styles, who's He is SmackDown.
Right.
He is SmackDown. He's the best guy you've got on that roster right now.
And then you got two studs in Nakamura and Randy Orton. You throw them in together in a match?
Well,
no.
I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that.
Vignettes.
Wait, why would you put Randy Orton and Nakamura together in a match against
Aiden and Rusev?
Yeah, it made no sense. Now, last time we seen Randy Orton, this is something I want to talk to you about. Last time we seen Randy Orton, he sat there and he RKO'd Nakamura. So now they're going to tag?
Yeah.
Like, well, how are you writing this? Do you not know what the hell your own show says about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, right.
Like, they're supposed to be feuding right now.
Yeah,
what the hell's going on?
It just was like, you got these guys that are bigger than just mid-card. But again, when you're wrestling on a Sunday and then you go over to East Lansing on a Monday, then you got to go to Grand
It was in
Rapids on
Grand
Tuesday.
Rapids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
They
On
had a
Monday,
house
they had a house
show
in East Lansing.
You're
right.
and then you got to wrestle on a Tuesday. This is what happened. That's why this is one of the drawbacks of a brand split is that there's too many events. I don't think you need a Monday event after a pay-per-view. Good God.
I don't think so either. You know what? Something I heard that I really liked, and I listen to a lot of different people about wrestling, about a lot of different stuff. Something that because there's a dead period, right? Everything kind of builds to Mania, and then you kind of get into this dead period. I think it's like right after Survivor Series. There's nothing going on. So right around the Christmas holiday, like Thanksgiving to like basically New Year.
Take 3 weeks off.
Take it off.
Yeah.
Show like highlights from what's happened the year prior. Show
interviews,
some vignettes. Yeah.
Miss TV segments. Yeah.
Just little bits and pieces to kind of get you almost like a year-in review of everything that's already taken place. And you can sit there and you've got enough content that you can block that out for the next, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, however long you want to do it. Give these guys some time off so they can go be with their family and let their bodies rest up. That's why all these guys are injured all the damn time. Yeah. You sit there and you bump around for 5 days on, and then you get 2 days off. And mind you, you're flying around or driving everywhere, so you know you're not sleeping a normal schedule. Your body's all out of whack. You need to sit there and give these guys some time off.
Now, easily, once you reunite the Shield on Raw, it's done. Done. Everything's great.
Done. Everybody pops.
It was great. What do you
Everybody
mean?
pops, and I ran out of Bounty paper towel to clean up my splooge.
What do you mean this is a rumor? They come out, they do the fist, boom. Once that segment ended, you were done. You were like, this is perfect. And then you go, my wife said, why are they reuniting the Shield? I said, look.
My wife was so pumped for it. She was so geeked.
Like, look later on in the show. I guarantee something's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then they come out again with all of a sudden they got new Shield shirts.
That's what she said. She's like, oh, they just had those shirts laying around in the back. And I was like, well, Vince is
I said, honey, there's some times where they do things for money, and this is a cash grab. And I think the purpose when you ask it is to try and get Roman over. They want him to be popular. So I think that this is done. It does bring that story full circle. They teased it long enough, and now you can take it and run with it till the early part of next year. The Shield is back. It was awesome. They ran roughshod NWO style. It was great to see. They destroyed Braun Strowman. They made
awesome.
They made The Miz crap his pants, and it was an amazing thing to see. And I marked out hard, and I'm surprised our friends at Breaking Down the Ring podcast weren't down with it, but I was cool with it. I loved it.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Raw won the week. It was a great show.
Yes, for sure. Do you think that they're going to turn this right now it's a 3-on-4 match, right? They just announced it the other day. It's a 3-on-4. It's going to be the Shield versus the Miz versus the Bar and Braun. Do you think they turned it into a 3-on-6 match? Because if you notice in Dean's promo, he was like, we don't
4,
care.
5, 6.
Yeah. So you could sit there and add the other two guys of the Miztourage in.
Why not?
And now you got the three
6-on-3
hounds of justice sitting there taking on everybody.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Mass chaos, right?
Oh, dude, it was great.
You think TLC lives up to Hell in a Cell?
I think it could.
Inter-brand competition would be nice.
Yeah, it would be. I
Some
think it
high
could.
spots, huh?
I think it could.
I think Braun Strowman might be the big dude that might be getting some of the big spots, too.
Yeah. Something else I want to talk to you about real quick, because I know we're kind of up against it. But so I love the Mickie James promo. Her calling her biscuit butt, and then the whole crowd start chanting biscuit butt. I absolutely loved that. I thought that was awesome. I think Mickie James at like 40-something still getting it done. Hot as hell. Sister Abigail, though. So this angle with Bray Wyatt, I think, is absolutely ridiculous.
That was dumb.
So Bray's going to show up, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to play out. Bray's going to show up, and he's going to have a different costume on. That's all it is.
Why?
Because WWE are stupid. So he's going to have a different costume on, and he's going to basically be wrestling as the incarnated Sister Abigail. Why can't you get some girl from NXT? You just had a women's competition. Why don't you bring one of these chicks up and highlight her? And let her be Sister Abigail. Let her interfere in the match. Instead, we're going to have this. And what's going to happen now? So does Finn lose and does Bray win? Or does Finn beat Sister Abigail, which is Bray, and then he can go on and finally do whatever it is that he needs to do? Because right now, this story is boring. It's awful. I can't stand it anymore.
It was uninspiring. I didn't like it. Oh, great. You just flipped a button and you modified Bray Wyatt's voice.
Right.
That's all I looked at.
That's all it was.
I wasn't a fan of that.
It was horrible. And this is what you're going to get for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And then Emma gets to get crushed by Asuka, which was whatever.
Kalisto's the new Cruiserweight champ. Yes, sir.
Oh, Neville asked for his release.
Oh, did he?
Okay, so I don't know if you noticed when they had the lumberjack match where Kalisto beat Enzo for the Cruiserweight title. Neville wasn't out there. So Monday night, what was supposed to happen was Neville was supposed to go out there and wrestle Enzo, and he was supposed to lose. This was supposed to set up for Kalisto challenging him at TLC, where Kalisto was going to beat him for the belt. So Neville says no. On top of it, they wrote themselves into a corner because technically Neville can't put a finger on Enzo. So again, bad writing catching up to you because you're stupid. All right. So he was like, no, I don't want to do that. He ended up he walked out of Raw, asked for his release, and walked out. At least that's what the rumors are right now.
Oh.
So nothing's confirmed yet, but when a wrestler asks for his release, it usually takes a week or so for everything to kind of get put in order and then for him to go. But Neville is not happy, and I don't blame the guy. If you sit there and you remember when Neville came in and he was the, I don't know, what was he? He was the guy Gravity forgot or whatever. Mm-hmm. So when Neville came in, Neville was wrestling with the big guys. He was wrestling with guys like a Braun Strowman, I remember him going on against Jericho and him breaking his ankle, and Jericho, the whole thing where Jericho's like, are you okay? Are you hurt? Are you hurt? And he's hurt, and he's Jericho's trying to tell the ref, and Charles Robinson's not getting it. So then he sits there and he puts his hands on Charles Robinson, who then has to disqualify him, and all that to save Neville because he couldn't walk on his ankle. So Jericho being the ultimate pro, and Neville would sit there and he would do awesome moves all the time against guys who are much bigger competition. It seems like they want to pigeonhole certain guys on this roster, and they want to force them to be cruiserweights. And these guys, a lot of these guys can sit there and they can go do other things. There should be some type of correlation. If you remember, when WCW was doing their thing, right, they had their cruiserweights, but some of those guys, like a guy like a Chris Jericho, was able to get out of that realm and go on and fight a guy like a Goldberg. You know what I'm saying? And they were able to sit there and elevate and take on other talents. And I just feel like they want to sit there and pigeonhole all these guys and keep them basically at the 205 level and not let them come up any. And I don't like it. I don't. And if I'm Neville, hey man, go work the indies, go to Ring of Honor if you want. Go to TNA, Impact, GFW, whatever it is. Go there, make some money on your own, do your own thing, do your indies. I mean, you can do it. You've seen that. You seen what
and you know what
Cody Rhodes has been able to do.
If you're Neville, you could see a little bit of the backstory, which is you got this clown who's not really that great in the ring, and he's just a talker, and you elevate him, and maybe you could have said, well, why don't you let me defeat him once or twice, and then let me put him over. Because of the fact that this guy's a talker, you make him the featured guy, and you start letting him say things like, I'm the reason why I'm here at 10 o'clock, and da-da-da-da-da, and I think that was a little bit cutting to a guy, and it's just true because of the fact that, in essence, you got a guy like Enzo Amore, who's just a really good talker and a really good guy.
He's awful in the ring.
A really good entertainer, but
he should be a manager.
He should not be, featured that a little too fast, in my opinion.
Yes.
So I can see why wrestlers would be mad.
Neville's whole King of the Cruiserweight gimmick, it was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome. It was entertaining. Like, I didn't enjoy a whole lot of the Cruiserweight matches just because a lot of these guys couldn't do dives. A lot of these guys couldn't do the things that you expect them to be able to do because WWE slaps the handcuffs on them, right? On top of it, the storylines are so poorly written for these guys. I feel like they're thrown together, in 20 minutes. Like, here, let's just do this. Okay, cool. Let's just go do that. Not cool at all. Your storylines suck, bro. All right? So Neville's character itself was so good that I think he could have elevated the Cruiserweight division just by being the king of the Cruiserweights, even with or without a championship. You know what I'm saying? He could have sat there and he could have challenged for the U.S. title. He could have challenged for the Intercontinental title. He could have challenged. You could have had your champion versus champion match. You know what I'm saying? He was that good and that talented that he could sit there and rise up and challenge these other guys, but they got to keep them all under lock and key. I'm afraid they might do something like that to Finn because Finn's a little guy. Finn's only like 190 pounds. You know what I'm saying? I
want to end this podcast on this note, and it just came across on Twitter, and it's so awesome. PJ Fleck, coach of Minnesota, was asked, okay, you guys are facing Michigan State coming up here on Saturday. Were you surprised that Michigan State defeated Michigan? He looked into the camera, looked into the microphone, and said, well, to be honest, at this point in time, I'd really be surprised if Michigan defeated Michigan State.
Ooh.
Drop the mic. So That's just the best way to put it, is that right now at this point in time, in terms of that rivalry, it's surprising if Michigan defeats Michigan State. And that's where you guys are at.
I don't really think it's surprising at this point. I really don't.
It is, because 8 out of 10.
I thought Michigan should have won this game, but I'm not surprised. Watching the game unfold, I wasn't surprised. It was frustrating as all hell.
A couple things to talk about in the future. The Tigers manager search is upcoming, and we're going to probably hone in on a manager. And something I want to talk about next week and jot it down. The guy who threw the octopus on the ice at Little Caesars Arena facing a potential lifetime ban.
From LCA?
From LCA. It's just coming across. They're looking to keep the guy out, Nick Horvath, who threw the first octopus onto the ice. This dude is somebody.
Can we get him on the podcast, maybe?
I'm trying. I think he's from Windsor, so I'm looking him up. I couldn't find. There's like 4 of them. So maybe we'll ask him. But facing a lifetime ban, he's saying, look, a year, fine, make it a punishment. I understand. That's whack. Hold on your thoughts. That's something. Let's let it breathe. Let's see in a week or so.
You get me all worked up again.
Yeah, I just saw it. So let's let it breathe and see if it actually gets executed. But that's something that might be a little strong. A year might be the fair punishment, but we'll see how it plays out.
I don't even know about that. I don't think that's even fair.
For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, who supports a losing product.
I do.
I am the Doc.
My head coach is a loser.
I'm the Doc, John Macaroon. Thank you for tuning in to an episode I think is going to live in infamy.
Come on, Lions. You need to get the W. Let's go. Please, oh, please, oh, please, please. And my fantasy team, please, oh, please get a win this week. Run the right route.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.